The lonely millionaire spent his birthday alone until the black maid said, "Dinner at my house." The door to the mansion slammed so hard that the pictures shook on the wall. Mariana shrugged, standing still in the middle of the hallway with the cleaning cloth still in her hand. Through the window, he saw the silver car skid off the exit, kicking up gravel. "You're Alberto?" she called, her soft voice breaking the heavy silence. Nothing. Mariana walked slowly to the main room, and then she saw him, sitting alone at the head of the long table surrounded by 12 empty chairs, candles burning in silver candlesticks, turkey platters, farofa, salads, pie, all untouched. A feast served for ghosts. The man stared at the empty plate in front of him. I didn't cry. It didn't even move. He just breathed slowly, like someone trying to hold back the pain in their chest. Mariana felt a tightness in her throat. "Happy birthday, Seu Alberto," she murmured. He looked up. He was pale, aged, as if he had aged 10 years in one afternoon. 70 years, Mariana, 70. His voice was hoarse. And no one came. She didn't know what to say. I had only started working there 3 weeks ago. I knew little about the man other than the obvious. Rich, widower, owner of a hotel chain, educated, still, sad, but I had never seen that loneliness so naked. Mariana took a deep breath and did the only thing her heart told her to do. "Mr. Alberto, if you want," she hesitated, twisting the cloth between her fingers. "You can have dinner at my house. It's nothing fancy, but my daughter made a cake, and we have rice, beans, chicken, real food." He blinked, as if he didn't understand. "What? Seen at my house?" she repeated, her eyes steady now. "You don't deserve to spend your birthday alone." For an instant, something flashed in his eyes. Surprise, gratitude, then a shy, almost embarrassed smile. "Would you do that for me?" "Of course." Mariana smiled back. "Come, we'll wait for you at 8. 3 weeks before Mariana had crossed the entire city with her work card in her purse and hope clutched in her chest. The interview had been in the office of the family lawyer, a man in a gray suit who barely glanced at her as he leafed through her resume. "Have you ever worked in big houses?" "Yes, sir. 5 years with the Almeida family. References here." He didn't even look, he just nodded. "Mr. Alberto Costa needs someone for general services. Cleaning, cooking, organization. He's discreet, doesn't like noise, works a lot, lives alone." "I understand. Monday to Friday from 8 to 5. On Saturdays, half day, 1,200 raise." Mariana swallowed dryly. It wasn't much for a house that size, but I needed it. His daughter, Julia, was in her 2nd year of law. Late rent, electricity bill in the red. Accepted. The lawyer slid a contract across the table. "Sign here. Starts Monday." That's how Mariana entered Alberto Costa's life. Gift. Birthday. The day had started quietly, as always. Mariana arrived at 8 in the morning, put her bag in the back room, and started tidying the kitchen. Mr. Alberto was already awake, sitting in the office, looking at papers that never seemed to end. But today he was different, tense. I looked at my cell phone every 5 minutes. At 10, she heard the phone ring. He answered quickly. "Hello? Claudia?" Silence. "No, daughter, I understand. Of course, no problem." He hung up slowly as if the phone weighed tons. Mariana pretended not to have heard. He continued dusting the bookshelf. At noon, he received a message. Read. He sighed. He left his cell phone aside. No happy birthday. At 3 in the afternoon, a delivery van brought the ready-made trays he had ordered. Mariana helped organize everything in the dining room. Dishes, silverware, flowers, wine. He wanted everything to be perfect. "They come, Mariana. This time they're coming," he murmured, more to himself than to her. She just nodded, feeling the weight of that fragile hope. At 6 in the afternoon, he changed his clothes. Navy blue suit, discreet tie, polished shoes. He sat down at the table, waited. 6:30. Nothing. 7 o'clock. Silence. 7:30. The doorbell finally rang. Mariana saw his face light up. He stood up quickly, almost tripping over his chair. But when he opened the door, it wasn't who he expected. It was a flower delivery man. A bouquet without a card. Generic, with a typed note. "Happy birthday. Sorry I couldn't go. Claudia." Alberto held the bouquet as if it were poison. Then, with a sudden movement, he threw everything in the trash. That's when Mariana heard the car arrive. She approached the window and saw a blonde woman getting out of a silver sedan, talking on her cell phone, furious. "No, Ricardo. I said I wasn't going. Let him turn around." Her voice and ran through the garden. "I already did my part by sending the flowers. Ready," he finished. She entered, slamming the door. "Father." Mr. Alberto turned around, his eyes moist. "Claudia, you came." "I came to get the accountant's papers." "Where did you keep it?" He blinked, disarmed. "But today is my birthday." "I know, Dad, I sent flowers." She didn't even look at the table. "The papers?" "In the office. I thought nothing, Father. I told you I couldn't come. I have a charity dinner today. Important people. You know how it is. Mariana saw the man shrink. Claudia, I just wanted you to— That I what? Would I give up my life to stay here and keep you company? She rolled her eyes. For God's sake, Dad. You're 70 years old. He's already an adult. If you feel alone, find friends. She climbed the stairs. He returned 5 minutes later with a folder under his arm. It passed right by him. Happy birthday, he threw over his shoulder without even looking, and left. The door knocked. The silence that remained was deafening. It was at that moment that Mariana made the invitation, and 2 hours later, sitting at the simple table in her house, a formica table with a crocheted tablecloth, mismatched glasses, cracked porcelain plates, Alberto Costa smiled for the first time in years. Julia, Mariana's daughter, was 17 years old, with smart eyes and a suspicious manner, but she was polite. She served the cake she had made herself. He asked questions about hotels. She listened to his stories with genuine attention. You must have seen the whole world, right? She said, her eyes shining. I saw. He sighed, with a sad smile. But I never had anyone to share it with. Mariana placed her hand on his shoulder. Today it is. They ate rice, beans, roast chicken, farofa, Alberto repeated twice. He laughed at Julia's jokes. He told stories from his youth. He helped wash the dishes. When he left, it was already past midnight. He hugged Mariana at the door. Thank you, he whispered. You don't know what you did for me today. I know, she replied, smiling. I did the right thing. 2 days later, Mariana was ironing clothes when she heard the front door open violently. Father, where are you? Claudia. Mariana turned off the iron, feeling her stomach tighten. Something was wrong. Claudia stormed into the room, followed by a tall man with glasses and an expensive suit, her husband, Ricardo, a lawyer, and behind him, a young woman in high heels and a disgusted face, Helena, the granddaughter. Do you have the nickness to take a servant to dinner? Claudia shouted, her face red. Mr. Alberto, sitting on the sofa with a book on his lap, looked up, confused. What are you talking about? The neighbor called me. He said he saw you leaving in the car on the night of your birthday, and I found out that you went to dinner at this house. She pointed at Mariana with contempt. Employee. Mariana felt her blood run cold. Claudia, it wasn't like that. Shut up. Claudia turned to her eyes burning. You don't talk to me. Claudia, stop it. Mr. Alberto stood up. She invited me because you didn't come, because nobody came. Oh, how beautiful. Claudia gave a bitter laugh. She invited you. What a noble gesture. She approached him, lowering her voice. Venomous. Don't you see, Father? She has an eye on your money. It's obvious, and this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you, a 70-year-old man, let yourself be manipulated by a takeaway. Mariana took a step forward, her heart racing, but keeping her voice firm. I just wanted to help. Claudia laughed cruelly. To help? You? She turned to her husband. Ricardo, tell him. The lawyer adjusted his glasses, his tone calculated, professional. Mr. Alberto, with all due respect, this employee's behavior raises serious legal questions. Emotional approach, invitations outside the professional environment. This can be interpreted as manipulation of an elderly person. I am not senile, Alberto exploded. Nobody said that, father-in-law. Ricardo opened his hands, falsely conciliatory. But we need to protect you, sir, and the family heritage. Helena, until then silent, let out a mocking laugh. Grandpa, seriously, what cardboard? Dinner at the maid's house? Everyone will laugh at you. Something broke inside Alberto. He looked at his granddaughter. For the son-in-law. For the daughter. Get out of my house. Claudia blinked. What? Get out. From my home. Dad, you won't. Now. They left, furious. But before Claudia turned around one last time. It won't stay like this, she hissed. You'll see. The door knocked again. Mariana stood still, shaking. Alberto fell onto the sofa, exhausted, his face in his hands. I'm sorry, Mariana. I'm sorry about all of this. She approached, touching his shoulder gently. You are not to blame for anything. But deep in her chest, Mariana felt a cold fear settle in, because the way Claudia had looked at her, with pure, calculated hatred, was not someone who would give up easily. And then, when late herself, while organizing the guest room, Mariana found something, a folder, hidden inside the closet, full of papers with notary stamps, signatures, recent dates. She opened it, curious, and what she saw made her freeze. On the first page, in large letters, Testament, Alberto Henrique Costa's last will. But the signature on the footer was strange, too shaky, different from the others she saw in the house documents. Mariana turned the page and he read, I leave all my assets, properties, and investments to my daughter, Claudia Costa Mendez, and her heirs. Date, 2 weeks ago. She felt her heart race. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Alberto was traveling. She remembered. He had gone to Santos to solve problems in one of the hotels. So, when would he have signed this? Mariana photographed the pages with her cell phone, her hands shaking, closed the folder, put it back, and he went to the kitchen, his head spinning, because now everything made sense. Claudia's fury, Ricardo's sharp gaze, the rush to expel her. They weren't protecting Alberto, they were protecting a fraud. Mariana discovered a false will, false. But if she tells Alberto, what will the villains do? Mariana couldn't sleep that night, lying on the narrow bed, looking at the cracked ceiling. Images of that will swirled in her head, the shaky signature, the impossible date, Claudia's name in large letters as owner of everything. Julia was snoring softly in the next room. The house was silent, but inside Mariana's chest, a storm was boiling. She took out her cell phone and opened the photo gallery, enlarged the document image. I leave all my assets, properties, and investments to my daughter, Claudia Costa Mendez, and her heirs. And below, that signature, crooked, hurried. Nothing like the firm and elegant handwriting that Mr. Alberto used to sign checks, receipts, letters. Mariana had seen his signature dozens of times. She organized the office, archived contracts. I knew that handwriting by heart, and that over there, it was something else. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of discovery. If I tell him, what will happen? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm not? But she was certain of one thing. Claudia and Ricardo had not returned to that house out of homesickness. They had returned because Mariana was a threat, and now she needed to understand why. The next day, Mariana arrived at the mansion at 8 o'clock sharp, as always. Mr. Alberto was on the balcony, drinking coffee, looking at the garden with a distant gaze. Good morning, Seu Alberto. He turned around and for the first time in days he smiled. Good morning, Mariana. Did you sleep well? More or less. She placed the tray of fresh bread on the table. And you? He sighed. I thought a lot about what Claudia said. His voice was low, tired. Is she right? Am I a pathetic old man? Mariana sat in the chair next to him, something she had never done before. But now, she was no longer just a maid and a boss. It was something deeper. You are not pathetic. You are human. She looked into his eyes. And he deserves to be loved. In truth, not for money, not out of interest. Because of who you are. His eyes became wet. It's been so long since anyone treated me like this. She touched his hand gently. So let me tell you something, Seu Alberto. She took a deep breath. I don't want anything from you, sir. I just want you to be happy, because good people deserve it. He squeezed her hand back silently, and in that simple gesture, Mariana felt that she had made the right choice. Protect that man, whatever it takes. Flashback. 3 years earlier, Alberto sat alone in the hospital, holding Helena's cold hand. Not his granddaughter, but his wife. She had the same name. The monitors beeped. Her breathing was weak, irregular. Cancer, final stage. Alberto, she whispered, her voice almost inaudible. I'm here, love. Promise. One thing. Anything. Don't let Claudia keep you away from people. She coughed, squeezing his hand with the little strength she had. She's good deep down, but she's afraid of losing you. I promise. And you, don't be alone. Please, don't be. He kissed her forehead, tears falling. I promise. She died 3 hours later, and the following week, at the wake, Claudia barely spoke to him. She was busy receiving condolences, arranging flowers, taking care of the details. Ricardo, her husband, stayed by her side the entire time, whispering in her ear, writing things down in a notebook. After the funeral, Claudia left. She said she needed to process the pain alone. Alberto stayed, alone, in the empty house, for 3 years. Present. 2 days after the fight, Mariana was washing the dishes when he heard muffled voices coming from the back garden. She turned off the tap, dried her hands, and approached the kitchen window, hidden behind the curtain. Claudia, Ricardo, and Helena were sitting at the iron table, under the pergola. They spoke quietly, but the wind carried parts of the conversation. We can't let him change his mind, Ricardo said, gesturing with his hands. If he rewrites his will and includes her, we'll lose everything. He won't do that, Claudia replied tensely. He barely knows her, but she's already gotten into his head. Helena crossed her arms. Did you see how he looked at her? As if she were a saint. She is smart, Ricardo said, adjusting his glasses. That's why it's dangerous. Mariana felt her blood run cold. So what do we do? Claudia asked. We accelerate the plan. Ricardo opened a folder. The will is already registered. But it needs one thing. His signature on a power of attorney for me to manage the assets in case of mental incapacity. Mental incapacity? Helena frowned. But he's lucid, for now. Ricardo smiled, cold. But if we prove that he is making irrational decisions, inviting maids to dinner, isolating himself, refusing help from his family, we can question his capacity in court. Claudia took a deep breath. Are you sure about this? Absolute. With the power of attorney, I take control, and when he dies, everything passes to you. Clean. No contest. Mariana covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to make any noise. My God, they weren't just stealing the inheritance. They were planning to admit him, declare him incapable, take away his freedom. And it all started with that fake will. And late that day, Mariana waited until Claudia and the others left. Then, with his heart racing, he went to Mr. Alberto's office. He was signing papers. Mr. Alberto, can I say something? Of course, Mariana. He smiled, tiredly. What it was. She took a deep breath. I had to be careful. I couldn't scare him. I couldn't sound paranoid. Have you signed any important documents recently? Like, will? He frowned. Testament? No. My will was made 5 years ago, when my wife died. And you haven't changed anything since then? No? Why? Mariana hesitated. I wanted to show the photos. I wanted to tell everything. But something held her back. What if he doesn't believe me? What if he thinks I'm making it up to separate him from his daughter? It's just, I heard Claudia talking about documents. I was worried. He sighed, running a hand over his face. Mariana, I know that my daughter is difficult, but she is still my daughter, and deep down, I know she loves me. Mariana felt her chest tighten. He still believed. I still had hope. I know so, Alberto. Sorry. I just worry about you, sir. He held her hand, and I'm grateful for that, in truth. But as she left the office, Mariana knew she needed more proof, evidence that even he couldn't deny. 3 days later, Saturday, Mr. Alberto had gone out to lunch with former partners. Mariana took the opportunity to discreetly search the office. He opened drawers. He leafed through folders. He looked for copies of documents, receipts, anything, and then he found it. Inside a locked drawer, which she opened with the spare key that was hidden behind the painting, was a manila envelope. Inside it, a contract. Irrevocable power of attorney, administration of assets. Grantor, Alberto Enrique Costa Grantee, Ricardo Mendez, lawyer. Date, 3 weeks ago. Mariana read each line, her heart racing. Ricardo had full powers to sell properties, operate accounts, sign contracts, transfer assets, all in Alberto's name. And at the end, a frightening clause. This power of attorney remains valid even in the event of the grantor's subsequent mental incapacity. In other words, even if Alberto were declared incapable, Ricardo would continue to have control. Mariana photographed everything. And then, underneath the contract, he found something even worse. A medical report. Neuropsychiatric assessment. Alberto Henrique Costa, signed by Dr. Fabio Guimarães. Diagnosis. Initial signs of senile dementia. Psychiatric follow-up and possible family guardianship are recommended. Exam date, 2 weeks ago. Mariana felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. Mr. Alberto had never mentioned any exam, no doctor, no diagnosis, because he had never been. That was false. Everything was fake. The will, the power of attorney, the medical report. Ricardo had faked everything. And now with these documents in hand, he could lock Mr. Alberto in a clinic, take everything, and no one could stop him. Mariana was shaking when she heard the front door open. Mariana, I'm back, Mr. Alberto's voice. She put everything away quickly, closed the Giaveta, locked it, put the key back. He left the office with wobbly legs, his cell phone weighing heavily in his pocket. Hi, Alberto, she said, forcing a smile. How was lunch? Good, but tiring. He sat on the couch, sighing. Mariana, are you okay? It's pale. Yes, I am. Just heat. He nodded, without suspecting it. But that night, alone at home, Mariana called Julia. Daughter, I need help. What happened, Mom? There's a man, a good man, and his family is trying to steal everything, and I have the proof, but I don't know what to do. Julia was silent for a moment. Mom, are you sure? Absolute. Then we go to the police. No, not yet. Mariana took a deep breath. Because if we report it now, they will know it was me, and they will destroy me. So what do? Mariana closed her eyes. We wait and gather more evidence until they can't deny it. But deep down, she knew time was running out. Because the next morning when she arrived at the mansion, she found Mr. Alberto sitting in the living room with a letter in his hand. He was pale, in shock. Mariana, her voice shook. Claudia, she sent me this. He held out the letter. Mariana read it, and he felt his blood freeze. Letter from Claudia. Father, after much reflection and conversations with Ricardo, I made a difficult decision. I will request the court to seize your assets. It's not bad. It's for love. You are not well. You are making irrational decisions, inviting strangers into the house, trusting people you barely know. I've already scheduled a hearing with the judge. Dr. Fabio Guimarães will present the report. Ricardo will represent the family. You don't have to worry about anything. We will take care of everything. With love, Claudia. Mariana looked at Mr. Alberto. He had tears in his eyes. "She thinks I'm crazy," he whispered. "My own daughter." Mariana clenched her fists. No, not really. She wasn't going to let that happen. She wasn't going to let those monsters destroy that man. And now, she had a name. Dr. Fabio Guimarães. The doctor who had never examined Alberto. The doctor who had signed a false report. The next step of the conspiracy. And Mariana was going to find him. Mariana discovered the corrupt doctor who signed the false report. But how can you prove he lied? Before the hearing takes place. Mariana didn't sleep. Claudia's letter was burning in his mind like a live coal. Judicial interdiction, medical report, hearing scheduled. She looked at her cell phone, 4:37 a.m. On the screen, the photos he had taken, the false will, the fraudulent power of attorney, and the name that now repeated in his head like a mantra, Dr. Fabio Guimarães, the doctor who had never examined Mr. Alberto, the doctor who had signed an invented diagnosis, the doctor who was the key to the entire fraud. Mariana knew what she needed to do, but he also knew the risk. If I go after him, they'll find out, and if they find out, they'll destroy me. She got out of bed, turned on the kitchen light, made coffee. Julia was still sleeping. The house was silent, but inside Mariana's chest, a drum was beating loudly. So, at 5 in the morning, she made the decision. He took out his cell phone. He searched on Google. Dr. Fabio Guimarães, psychiatrist, São Paulo. Various results. Private clinic. Address in Pinheiros. Professional website with photo. Man in his 50s. White smile. Impeccable coat. Mariana wrote everything down. And then with hands shaking, he dialed the clinic number. 3 rings. Dr. Guimarães Clinic. Good morning. Good morning. Mariana forced her voice to sound calm. I would like to make an appointment. Of course, for what date? As quickly as possible, it's urgent. We have a vacancy today at 3 in the afternoon. Does it work? Mariana took a deep breath. It works. Turned off. And then for the first time in days, he smiled. Let's see what the doctor has to say. Morning. Alberto's mansion. When Mariana arrived at work, Mr. Alberto was sitting in the office, looking at Claudia's letter with empty eyes. He hadn't slept. The dark circles were deep. The hands shook slightly. Mr. Alberto, Mariana approached slowly. Did you eat anything? He shook his head absently. I can't, Mariana. Am I really sick? He looked at her, his eyes full of doubt, of fear. Don't I understand? Mariana felt her heart break. That was what they wanted. Make him doubt himself, break his trust in his own mind. Gaslighting in the cruelest form. You're not sick, she said firmly, holding his hands. You are being manipulated. But the report could be a lie. He blinked, confused. Why would Claudia do that? Mariana hesitated. I couldn't tell everything yet. Not without proof or concrete. Not without destroying the last hope he had in his daughter. I don't know, Seu Alberto, but I'll find out. He squeezed her hand desperately. Mariana, I don't know what I would do without you. She smiled, with tears in her eyes. You'll never have to find out. 3 p.m. Dr. Clinic, Fabio Guimarães. The clinic was elegant. Marble floors, modern paintings, soft ambient music. Mariana felt out of place there, with her simple clothes and worn-out bag. The receptionist looked at her with a cold, professional smile. Name, Mariana Silva. Please wait. 15 minutes later, Mariana was called. The office was spacious with a leather sofa, a glass table and framed diplomas on the wall. And in the center, sitting with impeccable posture, Dr. Fabio Guimarães. He smiled. Mrs. Mariana, right? He pointed to the sofa. Sit down, please. What brings you here? Mariana took a deep breath. I had rehearsed that on the way. I knew I needed to be smart. I couldn't scare him. I couldn't reveal that I knew. Doctor, I work as a caregiver for an elderly man, and I'm worried about him. I understand. He opened a notebook, took out a pen. What's his name? Alberto Costa. The doctor froze. For a split second, Mariana saw it. The surprise, the fear. Then he recovered quickly and smiled again. Alberto Costa. Interesting. He wrote something down. And what symptoms did you observe? Actually, doctor. Mariana looked into his eyes. I came here because I saw a report signed by you, saying he has dementia. The doctor remained motionless. And I live with him every day, and he doesn't have any symptoms. None. She tilted her head. So I was confused. How did you diagnose a disease that doesn't exist? Silence. Dr. Guimarães slowly placed the pen on the table. The smile was gone. Mrs. Mariana, you are making serious accusations. I'm not accusing anyone, doctor. I'm just asking. He got up, went to the window, turned his back to it. Mr. Alberto Costa was my patient. I examined it personally, and my diagnosis was based on strict clinical criteria. When? How? When did you examine him? He turned, his gaze cold. This is confidential information. So tell me something, doctor. Mariana also got up. If Mr. Alberto was your patient, why doesn't he have any memory of coming here? The doctor stepped forward, intimidating. Are you insinuating that I lied? No. Mariana held his gaze. I'm saying you lied. He clenched his jaw. Get out of my clinic. Now. With pleasure. Mariana took the bag. But first, just one more question. What? How much did Ricardo Mendez pay you to sign that false report? The doctor's face turned white. Outside. Mariana left. But as she walked through the reception, she saw something. On the secretary's desk, an open diary, and in one line, marked with a red pen, R. Mendez, 6 p.m., final arrangement. Today, in 3 hours, Ricardo would come here for the final hit. Mariana felt her heart race. She had found the connection. Now I needed proof. 6:15 p.m., clinic parking lot. Mariana was hiding behind a car, crouched down, her cell phone in her hand, recording. At 6:10 p.m., Ricardo arrived. Gray suit, briefcase, sunglasses. He entered the clinic. Mariana waited, her heart in her throat. 20 minutes later, the door opened. Ricardo and Dr. Guimarães left together, talking quietly. Mariana raised her cell phone, filming. She came here today, the doctor said nervously, asking questions. You know about the report. You know it's fake. She can't prove anything. Ricardo replied coldly. Relax. To relax? If she takes this to the police, she won't. Ricardo stopped and turned to the doctor. Because no one will believe a maid against a lawyer and a renowned doctor. What if she recorded something? Photos? Ricardo smiled, cruelly. Then we solve it. The way it solves pests. Mariana felt her blood run cold. How? The doctor asked. We invent an accusation, theft, falsehood, anything, and she loses her job, her credibility, and if she's lucky, she won't go to jail. Ricardo adjusted his glasses. I've done this before, it's easy. The doctor took a deep breath. And the money? Transfer tomorrow. 50,000. As agreed. And when the old man dies? 50 more. Ricardo hit him on the shoulder. Don't worry, Fabio. In 6 months you forget it ever happened, and he gets rich. They said goodbye. Ricardo got in the car and drove away. Mariana stood still, shaking, holding her cell phone as if it were gold. I achieved. I have the proof. But before he could celebrate, he felt a heavy hand on his shoulder. What are you doing here? She turned around, startled. He was a security guard of the clinic. Big, arms crossed, hard look. The doctor at reception saw you, said you were hiding. He grabbed her arm, hard. Come with me. Let go of me. He dragged her back inside the clinic. And there, at the reception, waiting with a venomous smile, was Dr. Fabio Guimarães. Mrs. Mariana, he crossed his arms. Recording private conversations without consent is a crime, you know. Mariana tried to pull her arm away, but the security guard held on tight. Let go of me. Give me your cell phone, the doctor ordered. No. He took a step forward, his voice low, threatening. Either you give me your cell phone, or I call the police and accuse you of trespassing, harassment, and illegal recording, and then you're arrested and lose everything. Job, home, daughter. Mariana felt tears burning. No, it can't end like this. She looked around desperately. The receptionist looked on indifferently. The security guard squeezed his arm. The doctor waited impatiently. And then, Mariana did the only thing she could. He shouted, You guys are robbing an old man. You forged a report. I have proof. The security guard covered her mouth. Shut up. But it was too late. 2 people in the waiting room had heard it. They looked, shocked. The doctor blushed. Get her out of here, now. The security guard dragged Mariana out and threw her on the sidewalk. She fell to her knees, her cell phone slipping out of her hand, sliding across the floor. And before he could get it back, the security guard stepped on it. Crack. The screen shattered. If you show up here again, we'll sue you, he growled. Then he went back in. The door closed. Mariana remained there, alone, on her knees on the sidewalk, looking at her broken cell phone. Everything he had achieved, lost. The recording, proof, all. She started to cry, not from pain, but out of frustration, of anger, of impotence. How am I going to save him now? And then, he felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. She looked up. It was a woman, about 60 years old, gray hair, round glasses, simple clothes. Girl, are you okay? Mariana wiped her tears. Yes, I am. I was in the waiting room. I heard what you screamed. The woman crouched down beside her. And truth? Is this doctor stealing from someone? Mariana hesitated. Then he nodded. The woman took a deep breath. Then you're not the only one. Mariana blinked. How? My husband. He came here 6 months ago. This doctor said he had Alzheimer's, that he needed hospitalization. His family wanted to take everything. We fought. We lost almost everything. She held Mariana's hand. But we proved that the report was false. And the doctor lost the case. Mariana felt her heart accelerate. Serious. Serious. The woman took a card from her pocket. This is the lawyer who helped me, Dr. Renata Fonseca. She specializes in medical fraud. Mariana took the card with shaking hands. Can she help me? He can, and it goes. The woman smiled. Because people like this doctor can't keep doing this. She got up and helped Mariana get up too. Come on, girl, and fight, because you're not alone. And then, he left. Mariana stood still, holding the card, feeling something new being born in her chest. Hope. She had lost the recording, but he had found something better. An ally, a witness, a second chance. Night. Mariana's house. Mariana showed the card to Julia. Mom, are you sure? I have. Mariana took a deep breath. I'll call her tomorrow and I will tell you everything, and she will help me save Seu Alberto. Julia hugged her mother tightly. I'm with you, always. But that same night, Mariana's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello? Silence. Then, a cold voice. Male. Mariana Silva? Who is it? You should have stayed quiet. Her blood froze. Who's talking? Someone who will make sure you don't get in anyone else's way. What do you want? You have 24 hours to leave Mr. Alberto's house and disappear. The voice was calm, calculated, frightening. If you don't leave, we'll come to you, and even your daughter. Mariana felt her legs weaken. You can't. I can, and I will. Pause. 24 hours, Mariana. Either you disappear, or we erase you. The call dropped. Mariana let the phone slip from her hand, her entire body shaking. Julia ran to her. Mother? Mom? What happened? Mariana hugged her daughter tightly, feeling fear taking over. They weren't just stealing. They were willing to kill. And now, Mariana had to choose. Run away and abandon Mr. Alberto, or fight and risk your daughter's life. Mariana received a death threat. She has 24 hours to give up, or she and Julia will be deleted. Will she run away, or will she fight? Mariana didn't sleep that night. She sat in the kitchen with Julia beside her, the two of them in silence. The threat echoed in her head like a cracked bell. 24 hours, or we'll erase you. Julia held her mother's hand, her eyes red. Mom, we have to leave, disappear, go to my aunt's house in Minas. Mariana looked at her daughter, 17 years, full of life, full of dreams. And then he looked at the card on the table. Dr. Renata Fonseca, Advocacy and Human Rights. She took a deep breath. No. Julia blinked. How not? I'm not running away. Mariana looked up and there was something new there, something hard, unshakable. Because if I run away, they win, and Seu Alberto is left alone, and they destroy him. But Mom, they threatened us. I know. Mariana shook her daughter's hand. That's why I'm going to do it differently. I will report it. I will expose them, and I will win. Julia swallowed dryly. Are you sure? Mariana took the card and held it tight. I have. And at 6 in the morning he dialed the number. 8 good a.m. Doctor's office. Renata Fonseca. The office was small, simple, in an old building in the center. Nothing like the villain's marble clinics. But when Mariana entered, she felt something different. Security. Dr. Renata was around 40 years old, with curly hair tied into a bun, firm eyes, and an upright posture. She pointed to the chair. Sit down, Mariana. Tell me everything. And Mariana told. From the beginning, the lonely birthday, the invitation to dinner, Claudia's fury, the false will, the fraudulent power of attorney, the invented medical report, the visit to the clinic, the confrontation with Ricardo, the threat. Dr. Renata listened to everything in silence, taking notes without interrupting. When Mariana finished, she was crying. I just wanted to help, and now they want to kill me. Dr. Renata leaned forward, holding Mariana's hands firmly. Mariana, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. His voice was strong, clear. You didn't do anything wrong. You are an honest woman who saw an injustice and had the courage to act. And this is rare. This is powerful. Mariana sniffed, wiping away her tears. But I have no proof. My cell phone broke. The recording disappeared. You have the photos you took earlier, don't you? Mariana blinked. I have. I sent it to my email. For security. Then you have proof. Dr. Renata smiled. False will. Fraudulent power of attorney. Medical report without examination. This is more than enough. But they will deny everything. They go. And that's why we're going to add more. She opened a folder. I have already represented 3 cases against Dr. Fabio Guimarães, all with false reports, all sponsored by greedy families. And in all, I won. Mariana felt her heart accelerate. Serious? Serious. Dr. Renata stood up. And now, let's win this one too. Icao, at 10:30 a.m. Alberto's mansion. Mariana went back to work. Mr. Alberto was in the living room, looking out the window, lost. She approached slowly. Mr. Alberto, can I say something? He turned around. His eyes were sunken, tired. Of course, Mariana. She took a deep breath. I discovered something. About Claudia. About Ricardo. About the report. She paused. And it's not good. He frowned. What did you discover? Mariana pulled out her cell phone and opened the photos she had sent to her email. That, she showed, the false will, the fraudulent power of attorney, the invented medical report. Alberto looked confused at first, then shocked, then devastated. No, it can't be. Yes, Mr. Alberto. Her voice was firm but gentle. They forged everything, to get you out of the picture, to keep the money. He sat on the couch, his hands shaking, holding his cell phone as if it were weighing tons. My daughter, my own daughter. Mariana sat next to him. I know it hurts, but now we can do something. I hired a lawyer. She will help us. And at the interdiction hearing, we will show all of this, and they will fall. Alberto looked at her, his eyes full of tears. Why are you doing this for me? Mariana smiled softly. Because it's right, and because you deserve it. He held her hand, tight. Thank you, Mariana. Thanks. 3 days later, the eve of the hearing, Dr. Renata had worked quickly. He gathered the evidence. He obtained copies of the other cases against Dr. Guimarães. He called the witness, the woman who had helped Mariana at the clinic, prepared a complete dossier, and that night at Mariana's house, they rehearsed. When the judge asks, you answer calmly, Dr. Renata instructed. No emotion, just the facts. What if Ricardo attacks me? Let him attack. Renata smiled confidently. Because the more he talks, the more he will bury himself. Julia was sitting on the sofa, watching everything with wide eyes. Mom, you're incredible. Mariana smiled nervously. We haven't won yet, but we will win. Dr. Renata closed the folder. Trust me. Hearing day, Central Forum. The courtroom was full. On one side, Claudia, Ricardo, H. Elena, and Dr. Fabio Guimarães, all with expensive clothes, arrogant posture, unshakable confidence. On the other side, Mr. Alberto, Mariana, and Dr. Renata. The contrast was brutal. Wealth versus dignity. Lie versus truth. When Mariana entered, Claudia looked at her with pure contempt. What a nerve, she whispered to Ricardo, loud enough for Mariana to hear. She still came. Ricardo just smiled, adjusting his glasses. He leaves. It soon ends. But when the judge entered, a man in his 60s with glasses, a serious expression, the room fell silent. Good morning, everybody. Let's get started. He leafed through the papers. Judicial interdiction process. Applicant, Claudia Costa Mendez. Defendant, Alberto Henrique Costa. Ricardo stood up, confident. Your Excellency, I came here representing the Costa family. My father-in-law, Mr. Alberto, unfortunately shows clear signs of senile dementia. He brought a medical report signed by Dr. Fabio Guimarães, a renowned psychiatrist, and I ask urgently that the ban be decreed to protect family assets. He handed the report to the judge. The judge read in silence. Then he looked at Alberto. Mr. Alberto, do you have anything to say? Alberto stood up, his voice firm but emotional. Your Excellency, I do not have dementia. I have never been examined by this doctor, and this ban is a fraud. Claudia rolled her eyes. Of course he will say that, Your Excellency. It's part of the disease. Denial. I'm not sick. Alberto exploded. The judge banged the gavel. Order. He looked at Dr. Renata. Would the defense like to speak? Dr. Renata stood up, calm, confident. Yes, Your Excellency, and I will prove that this process is a sham. Ricardo gave a sarcastic laugh. With all due respect, colleague, you are wasting time. We have a medical report. We have witnesses. We have false documents. Dr. Renata interrupted him. Silence. Ricardo blinked. What? Dr. Renata opened the folder and took out the photos that Mariana had taken. This will? She lifted it. Signed on a date when Mr. Alberto was in Santos, 400 kilometers from here. Proven by hotel receipts and airline tickets. She handed the documents to the judge. This power of attorney, signed without notarization, and with a signature that experts will confirm is forged. Ricardo was pale. And this medical report? Doctor. Renata turned to Dr. Guimarães. Doctor, could you tell us when you examined Mr. Alberto? The doctor nervously adjusted his tie. About 3 weeks ago. Interesting. Dr. Renata smiled, cold. Because Mr. Alberto has a full schedule of appointments during this period, and none of them include a visit to your clinic. In fact, he was never there. That's a lie, the doctor protested. Then explain this to me. Dr. Renata held up another document. 3 previous cases where you were convicted of signing false reports, all sponsored by families who wanted to steal inheritances. The judge frowned, taking the documents. Is it true, doctor? The doctor opened his mouth. It closed. I didn't say anything. And then, Dr. Renata dropped the final bombshell. And more. I have here the testimony of a witness who heard Dr. Guimarães and Dr. Ricardo Mendez agreeing to pay 50,000 reais for the false report, and 50 more after Mr. Alberto's death. She delivered the written and signed statement from the woman at the clinic. The room exploded. Claudia stood up, furious. This is a lie. This employee is inventing everything to steal my father. Silence. The judge banged the gavel loudly. One more word and you are removed. Claudia sat down, shaking with anger. The judge looked at Ricardo. Dr. Mendez, do you have anything to say in your defense? Ricardo was white, sweating. Your Excellency, this is a mistake. Mistake? The judge looked at him cold. You forged documents, bribed a doctor, tried to rob an elderly man, and you still have the courage to call this a mistake? Ricardo didn't respond. The judge turned to Dr. Guimarães. And you, doctor, will be criminally liable for fraudulent misrepresentation, embezzlement, and irregular practice of your profession. The doctor lowered his head, and then the judge banged the gavel. Interdiction process denied. Mr. Alberto Costa is fully capable, and I order an immediate criminal investigation against Claudia Costa Mendez, Ricardo Mendez, and Dr. Fabio Guimarães for fraud, forgery of documents, and attempted embezzlement. The room erupted in murmurs. Claudia screamed, "No! This cannot be happening!" But it was already there. Police approached. Handcuffs glowed. Ricardo tried to run, but he was stopped at the door, and as the three were taken away, Claudia looked at Mariana with pure, venomous hatred. You will pay for this, you are going. But the door closed and the silence returned. Alberto was crying. Mariana held his hand, tight. It's over, Mr. Alberto. He finished. He hugged her, tight, sobbing. Thank you, thank you. Dr. Renata smiled, putting away the documents. Justice has been done. Later, forum hallway. Mariana was leaving when she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned around, scared. It was Helena, the granddaughter, but she wasn't mad. It was broken. I didn't know. His voice was low, embarrassed. I swear, my mother said it was to protect Grandpa. Mariana stared at her firmly. Yes, you knew. You just didn't want to see it. Helena lowered her eyes. Sorry. Mariana took a deep breath. It's not me you have to apologize to. And he passed her, leaving. But when he arrived at the stairs, he saw a familiar figure, the man with the cold voice, the one who had made the threat. He was leaning against a black car wearing sunglasses looking directly at her. Mariana stopped. The heart raced. He took a step forward and smiled, an icy smile, dangerous. Then he made a gesture. He ran his finger across his neck, slowly, a silent threat. This is not over. And he got in the car, disappearing down the street. Mariana stood still, shaking, because she had won in court. But the war wasn't over yet. Now, Monsieur Mariana won in court and unmasked the villains. But the man with the threat appeared and made it clear, revenge will still happen. What will he do? Mariana didn't tell anyone about the man. Not even for Julia. Not even for Mr. Alberto. Not even for Dr. Renata. Because I didn't want to worry them. Because I thought it was just intimidation. Because I was afraid that if I spoke, it would make everything too real. But that night, alone at home, she locked all the doors and windows. He left the living room light on, and he slept with his cell phone in his hand, ready to dial 190 at the slightest noise. 2 days later, morning, Mariana was in the mansion's kitchen preparing coffee when she heard the doorbell ring. Mr. Alberto went to answer the phone. She heard voices, then steps, and when he looked, he saw 2 police officers entering the room, accompanied by Dr. Satsiu. Renata, her heart raced. What happened? Dr. Renata approached, her face serious. Mariana, we need to talk. Living room. The police officers sat down. Dr. Renata opened a folder. After the hearing, we asked for discreet police protection for you two. She looked at Mariana, because we knew that Ricardo wasn't going to give up. Mariana swallowed dryly. Protection? Yes. Undercover vehicle. Threat monitoring. The lawyer paused. And last night we arrested a man hanging around your house. Mariana's blood froze. Who? One of the police officers opened a tablet, showed a photo. It was him, the man in the black car, the threat. Vanderlei Soares, former private security guard, known for solving problems for those who pay well. The policeman looked at her. He was hired by Dr. Ricardo Mendez to intimidate you, and if it didn't work, delete it. Mariana felt her legs weaken. Mr. Alberto held her arm, preventing her from falling. My God, but he won't do anything, the other police officer assured. He's under arrest, and he confessed everything, including the connection with Ricardo. Dr. Renata smiled, satisfied. And with that confession we got another charge, attempted murder for hire. Ricardo will get 10 to 20 years. Mariana covered her face with her hands, crying, but this time it wasn't out of fear, it was relief. Mr. Alberto hugged her tightly. It's over, Mariana. It's really over, and she believed. 3 weeks later, criminal court. The trial was quick. The evidence was overwhelming. False documents, fraud reports, bribe, threats, attempted murder. Claudia, Ricardo, and Dr. Fabio Guimarães sat in the dock with their heads down, defeated. Claudia cried. Ricardo was pale. The doctor looked at the floor, expressionless. The prosecutor presented everything, each document, every witness, every test, and when it was Mariana's turn to testify, she took to the pulpit with her head held high. The prosecutor asked, "Mrs. Mariana, why did you decide to investigate?" She looked at Mr. Alberto sitting in the audience. "Because I saw a good man being destroyed by people who should love him, and I couldn't stay silent. Even though I knew I would be threatened, who would be at risk?" Mariana took a deep breath. "Even so, because doing the right thing is not easy, but it is necessary." The silence in the room was absolute. The judge, the same one from the previous hearing, looked at the defendants. Would any of the accused wish to speak out? Ricardo stood up, shaking. "Your Excellency, I made mistakes, but errors?" The judge cut him off cold. "You forged documents, bribed a doctor, tried to rob an elderly man, and he hired a killer. These are not errors. They are crimes." Ricardo sat down, defeated. The judge banged the gavel. Ricardo Mendez, sentenced to 15 years in prison for embezzlement, document forgery, bribery, and attempted murder. Claudia Costa Mendez, sentenced to 8 years for complicity and forgery. Dr. Fabio Guimarães, sentenced to 12 years for ideological falsehood, qualified embezzlement, and irregular exercise of the profession. He paused. "And I order that all assets acquired fraudulently be returned to Mr. Alberto Costa, and that the defendants pay compensation to the victim and Ms. Mariana Silva for moral damages." The room erupted in applause. Mariana felt the tears fall. Mr. Alberto stood up, applauding too, his eyes shining. Claudia was taken away by the guards, shouting, "Father, Father, forgive me, I just wanted..." But Alberto turned away, and he didn't respond, because some betrayals have no return. 2 months later, Alberto's mansion. The house was different, lighter, more alive, flowers on the balcony, soft music, laughter in the kitchen. Mariana was preparing lunch when Mr. Alberto entered, holding an envelope. "Mariana, I need to show you something." She wiped her hands on her apron. "What is it?" He opened the envelope, took out a document, my New Testament, the real one. Mariana blinked, confused. "Why are you showing me?" "Because you're in it." Her eyes widened. "What?" He smiled softly. 50% of my assets go to charities, 25% for Helena. She really apologized, Mariana, and is trying to change. I need to believe that." He paused. "And 25% for you and Julia." Mariana felt the floor disappear. "Mr. Alberto, I can't accept this." "Maybe yes." He held her hands. "You saved my life, my dignity, my freedom, and what's more, you gave me something I hadn't had in years." "What?" "Real family." Mariana started to cry. "But I didn't do it for money." "I know." He smiled, his eyes moist. "That's why you deserve it." She hugged him, tight, sobbing. "Thank you, thank you." And in that hug something was healed, not just him, but in her too, because for the first time in her life Mariana felt that her value had been recognized, not as a maid, but as a human being. 6 months later, Julia's graduation. Mariana was in the front row of the auditorium, wearing a simple but beautiful dress, tears in her eyes. On stage, Julia received her law degree, and next to her as a special guest, Mr. Alberto applauded, standing up. He had paid for her studies. I had paid for the books. He had been the grandfather she never had. When Julia got off the stage, she ran to her mother and hugged her. "We did it, Mom. You did it, daughter." Mariana kissed her forehead. "You are incredible." Mr. Alberto approached, holding out a package. "For you." Julia opened it, curious. It was a letter of recommendation, signed by Dr. Renata Fonseca. "Julia Silva is pre-approved for an internship at my office. Daughter of one of the most courageous women I've met. I'm sure she'll follow the same path." Julia was speechless. I'm going to work with Dr. Renata?" Mr. Alberto smiled. "If you want." She screamed, jumped, hugged them both, laughing and crying at the same time. And at that moment, Mariana realized the fight had been worth it. Así es here 1 year later, Central Square. Mariana was sitting on a bench drinking coffee, watching the movement. Life had completely changed. She no longer worked as a servant. Now he coordinated a social project financed by Mr. Alberto. Casa Acolher, a space that offered free legal support to elderly victims of family and financial abuse. Julia worked there too as an intern, and Dr. Renata was the mentor. They had already helped 15 families, unmasked 8 frauds, saved lives. And it all started because Mariana had the courage to say, "Seen at my house." She smiled, remembering that day, from the lonely birthday, from the empty table, from the simple invitation. Who knew that a simple gesture would change so many lives? Then, his cell phone rang. It was Mr. Alberto. "Mariana, where are you?" "In the square." "Why?" "Come here to the house, I have a surprise." She laughed. "Again? You don't stop." "Never. See you soon." Turned off. Mariana put away her cell phone, finished her coffee, and went. Alberto Mansion, afternoon. When Mariana arrived, the house was full. Neighbors, friends, volunteers from Casa Acoliere, Julia, Dr. Renata, even Helena was there with a shy but sincere smile, and in the center of the room a banner. "Thank you, Mariana. You changed my life." Mariana covered her mouth, emotional. Mr. Alberto approached, holding an improvised microphone. "Mariana Silva." His voice echoed throughout the room. "A year ago I was alone, abandoned, lost, and you, a woman who barely knew me, offered me the only thing that matters, dignity, and love, and courage." He paused, eyes shining. "You didn't save me because SP, it was something in return. You saved me because that's who you are. And today, I want everyone to know, this woman is a hero." The room erupted in applause. Mariana cried, laughing, while everyone hugged her. And when the noise died down, it was she who took the microphone. "I'm not a heroine." His voice was firm, clear. "I just did what anyone should do. I defended someone who needed it. And I learned one thing. We don't need to be rich, powerful, or famous to make a difference. We just need to have courage and heart." She looked at Mr. Alberto. "Thank you for letting me be part of your life, for believing in me, for showing me that kindness is not weakness, it's strength." He smiled with tears in his eyes, and everyone applauded again. Ending. 6 months later, Alberto's birthday. This time the table was full. Mariana, Julia, Dr. Renata, volunteers from Casa Acoliere, neighbors, friends, and in the center a cake with 71 candles. Mr. Alberto blew, smiling, and for the first time in years, I wasn't alone. After dinner, he and Mariana stayed on the balcony, looking at the stars. "You know, Mariana," he said, his voice soft, "I spent my entire life building hotels, companies, fortunes, but none of that mattered when I needed it most." "What mattered?" she asked. He smiled. "You, the only person who saw me as a human being, and not as a bank account." Mariana held his hand. "And you taught me that dignity is priceless, and that doing the right thing, even when it's difficult, is always worth it." They stood in silence, side by side, two souls who saved each other. And while the gentle wind swayed the trees, Mariana thought about Claudia's letter, in Ricardo's threats, in the fake doctor's report, at the man in the black car, and he realized they had tried to destroy her because they underestimated her strength, because they thought that a poor black woman, a domestic worker, wouldn't have the courage. But they were wrong, because courage has no color, there's no class, he doesn't have a last name. Courage is doing the right thing, even when no one is looking, even when it costs everything, even when the whole world says you can't, and Mariana had proven it. The final reflection, narrator observes, in a firm and emotional voice, "There are people who measure value by what they have, but there are those who understand that the true value is in what you do." Mariana had no fortune, it had no power, it had no influence, but there was something more important, character. And that's what saved a man. It changed a life, inspired a generation, because in the end it doesn't matter how many doors close in your face, it matters how many you open for those who need them. It doesn't matter how many times they humiliate you, it matters how many times you stand up and fight, and it doesn't matter what they try to steal from you, because dignity, no one takes it away. And you? Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between what is right and what is easy? Have you ever defended someone even though you knew it would cost you something? Tell us in the comments. And if this story moved you, rate it from 0 to 10. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, share with whoever needs to hear this, because stories like this need to be told, and people like Mariana need to be celebrated. Until the next story, and remember, courage doesn't shout, courage acts.